Me today, yes, with a couple of presentations. And yeah, I will start with the presentation for the digital manufacturing platform cluster, shortly called DMP cluster, and I will go specifically to the working group standardization. So my name is Olga Meyer. I work at Fraunhofer Institute for Manufacturing Engineering and Automation. And just my background, perhaps, I'm a member of a competence center digital tools. So we look specifically at the Industry 4.0 in Germany, and especially in in Fraunhofer institutes, and we bundle this topic for the institutes which are focusing on the production. Well, I'm involved in the DMP cluster, and I'm ambassador of the working group standardization. By the way, I'm also involved at national and international levels of standardization. As for example, I am a convener of the German Working Group Standardization Roadmap, Industry 4.0, and also I'm involved in in such topics as industrial IoT, which is coming from GTC1 ST41, or for example, also involved in internationally in ISC TC65, especially in Working Group 23, which is focusing on smart manufacturing, and also looking at system architectures and so on. So yes, standardization is an interesting topic, and standardization is a topic of several projects. And the DMP cluster was initiated under the call of Horizon 2020 DTICT 07, which is with the name of Digital Manufacturing Platforms for Connected Smart Factories. You can imagine that, well, at the beginning, there were not many projects that already started. You can see also that the periods are 2018 and 2019. So the first projects who, came together were Quality Zero, CDMP, and eFactory, which is, which changed the name now to eFPF. And those projects came together and set the goal to define their common strategy and form a cluster, which will help to to cooperate, to start this joint dissemination activities, and to outreach the other projects and to look at their results. And the coordination of the cluster is done then by EFRA Connected Factories 2, which is also a part of this call. I also put on the slide some communication channels. If you are interested to look at some more information, of course, which what Connected Factories, for example, is involved in, and well, to be updated, then please go to those links or subscribe. Well, the projects that are involved in the DMP cluster, you can also see below. There are more of them. So we also heard about Kiklos previously, and there is also DigiPrime Shop for CF. Well, what is exactly what are exactly those working groups of the cluster? So at the moment there are 5 working groups, and at the moment they were revised. It means that well, we revised the structure because with the time when the projects came in, we got different topics, and for the moment we have the working group 1, which is focusing on standardization. I will go in detail later on that. The working group 2, which is focusing on dissemination, with the goal to harmonize the dissemination activities and to have some joint presentations, as for example at trade fairs and conferences. And with this working group, we want to increase the reach of information of all the projects and of course attract the users and have the broader reach of people. In working group 3 is focusing on scientific and socio-economic impact, and this is a joint research. We are focusing on joint research initiatives to impact the cluster stakeholders, and especially through the scientific activities, publications, roadmaps, for example. We're looking for mechanisms to address societal changes, also privacy and ethics, performance and business analysis. So these are the topics of the working group 3. The working group 4 is looking at the experimentations. I think that you know that the most of the projects are having the calls and having some pilots which are running. And the goal of this group is, of course, to combine those activities and to have some, to derive some joint information, derive some joint experiences. That's why this working group is addressing specifically the pilots and the work of pilots and the experiments and the calls. With the working group, we want to extract those common or to exchange the common, lessons learned, for example, and extract common aspects and help each other, of course, to make this process better. And at the end, of course, to reach the broader publicity, of course, for our calls. And at last, the working group 5, which is, I think it's one of the interesting groups, which is specifically focusing on some technologies. Here we have platforms and architectures, and we want to address the common understanding of this, develop methodologies, technologies, and look at the IT architectures, and of course do some, harmonization action between them and exchange in our experience. Let's go specifically to the working group 1, standardization. Yes, so the scope of the group is to address the common framework and to find the strategic planning for the projects in this working group and to start common standardization activities. So we would like to extract standardization results and bring those results to standardization bodies. Not only join activities, but we also would like to look at the common standards or look at the gap analysis of those groups and also derive some recommendations, of course, out of this information. And we are very happy to, I think I can speak from the project side because I am involved also in quality, that we are very happy that EFRA supports us in this one, and we can disseminate also our activities, our results through the structured wiki. In the structured wiki, there is one section which is dedicated to standards and standardization bodies. And we would like, through our information, to improve this one and to bring the results of the project in it. So how we do it? There are 3 pillars what we address mainly. Well, there are also other tasks, but I will concentrate mainly on those 3. So the first one is to find the common standards, and we already collected more than 170 standards which have relation to Industry 4.0 and all the let's say the common activities of the project. And we are trying to find out specific standards which are in use for the projects and make out some recommendations out of that. And we would like to derive those results, of course, to the wiki. At the moment, we are looking at the specific classification of those standards. So how we can classify those standards and bring to to the wiki. And we looked at the newest activity of ISO ISC, especially of the task force, which is well, working the objectives or working the standards for smart manufacturing, and looking on a standards map or making the first standards map. This is a very important activity. You can also see this, the number of the TRs. It's not published yet, but through our involvement, we have, of course, information on how they, let's say, want to map those standards. And of course, we see that the layers that, or the mapping of this standards map is based mainly on RAMI layers. That's why we are also focusing on this classification and want to address this classification also in Wiki. And also there are some cross-cutting areas which are perhaps not incorporated in the RAMI layers, which we would like also to address and to take out in Wiki, like, for example, security topics or security standards. Okay, the second task, what we address is to find, to address the gaps and recommendations. And I think this is the most essential part or the most essential output of the work of all the projects. We want also to make a joint, let's say, publications on this and bring this information out. And what we the third activity or the third pillar, which is also intense in the work, is the starting of the joint CWAs. You already heard about this possibility, and we are in discussion of. We are at the moment in the discussion of 3 CWAs, which the working group would like to coordinate, let's say. The first CWA is focusing on zero defect manufacturing terminology, and this one will, while the workshop starts the next week, so we have already submitted already this CWA, and it's already going on, let's say. And the next 2 are at the moment in the discussion, but we already have some drafts for those, and would like to apply for CWA focusing on digital manufacturing platform marketplace requirements, and the third will be focusing on data exchange in this area. So we are very happy that the projects are very active in contributing and also supporting and bringing the results also to these CWA workshops. And yes, just for those who have not or who would like to join us, we also have the door open, and are also interested in the results of other projects, of course, or other standardization activities.